I posed as a guy and successfully charmed a Shanghai socialite. She went around telling everyone how well-endowed I supposedly was, trying to make her childhood sweetheart jealous. But he remained indifferent. Furious, she blurted out that she was pregnant with my child. That finally made him panic. And it made me panic too. Victory. My voice, deliberately low, rasped through the headset. Wisps of smoke curled from my fingertips, dancing before the glowing victory on the screen. Thanks, Ash. You're really different from other gamer pals. The woman's voice on the other end was soft, gentle, tinged with shyness. You never try to flatter me. In fact, you often mock how badly I play. Just stating facts. I glanced at the session timer. Ash drifted onto my faded shorts. Another round? Ash, actually, I like you. She paused, letting the implication hang in the air, before finishing. Your straightforward, bold personality. Another pause. Speaking of bold, these tired pickup lines? Utterly lost on me. Trying to impress a master swordsman with a butter knife. I clamped the cigarette between my lips, phone tucked under my chin, and got up to boil water for instant noodles. My silence clearly flustered her. Are you angry? Those were just internet memes I was trying out. I stubbed out the cigarette. No, I said, conserving words like gold. It was part of the act. The brooding online god, handsome profile pic, killer skills, and crucially, a man of few words. Aloofness sold. The more I played hard to get, the better the business. But unlike other male companions, my profile picture wasn't stolen from the internet. It was a selfie. My gaze drifted across the cramped confines of my rented room to the cracked piece of mirror taped to the door. Short black hair, slightly upturned phoenix eyes, dark irises, a straight nose. For a small-town girl, I'd lucked out in the face department. Ash, there's something I've been thinking about for a long time. The voice on the other end took a deep breath, as if steeling herself. Let's meet up. In person. An eyebrow arched. I was about to refuse when she added. Meet me once. I'll give you 99,000. A beat. Pretend to be my boyfriend, and I'll add another 10 million. A late March night in Shanghai, drenched in the city's intoxicating glamour. I stood outside a luxury boutique on the Bund, staring at the reflection of the young man in the glass window. Black hoodie, jeans, sneakers. This shabby getup screamed anything but online god. Luckily, my face was my core asset. High-quality features meant that even if I wore ripped pants, nobody would notice the tear. Good genes helped too. As a woman, my natural height was 175 centimeters, 5 feet 9 inches. Add 5 centimeters insoles and 3 centimeters outer lifts. Hitting an aesthetically pleasing 180 centimeters, 5 feet 11 inches, was easy enough. Still, while my face projected male model cool, my insides were churning. Faking a male voice online was simple, but in real life, could I really pull this off? She was a Shanghai socialite, after all, worldly, experienced. What if she saw through me instantly and reported me for fraud? That 99,000 and the promised 10 million. Screw it. Time for a high-stakes gamble. Right now, I was awkwardly adjusting the eggplant strapped to my groin for the third time. Ash. A voice, softer and sweeter than through the headset, sounded behind me. My body froze. I casually moved my right hand away from the eggplant inside my pants. Then, I turned, feigning indifference. The woman behind me had long, ink-black hair loosely pinned up, a few strands escaping to caress her slender neck. My eyes did a rapid scan. Chanel dress, Hermes belt, Van Cleef & Arpels Alhambra bracelet, Roger Vivier pumps. My mind blanked, replaced by the incessant cha-ching of a cash register. Vivian Liu paused too, her gaze lingering on me. You look a bit different from your photos. My heart nearly stopped. A blush crept up her fair cheeks. More handsome. Lady, please stop recycling cheesy online pickup lines. Okay, thanks. I pressed my lips together, lowering my gaze. Thanks. Ahem. I booked a table at Speak Low. My friends are waiting there. Vivian extended her hand, the pearlescent shimmer on her nails catching the neon light. Shall we? I noticed the stiffness in her gesture. After a moment's hesitation, I didn't take her hand. Okay. My detachment seemed to relax her. She chuckled lightly. You're just as cool and distant as you are online. I remained silent, deliberately slowing my pace to match her high heels. So, I passed. But this was just the first hurdle. We soon reached the bar. Just getting in involved some elaborate mechanism I'd never encountered. Inside, the lighting was dim, soft jazz flowed through the air, punctuated by the pleasant clinking of ice in glasses. Vivian. A group of stylish young people waved from a central booth. Damn, is this the guy you met online? One of the girls, with short hair, exclaimed, her eyes lighting up as she sized me up. He's gorgeous. Almost pretty enough to be a girl. Vivian, you good girl, you've been hiding him well. Pretty enough to be a girl. Her casual comment sent a jolt through me. I pressed my tongue against the roof of my mouth, keeping my expression neutral. Vivian flushed at her friend's teasing. Chloe, stop it. She turned to introduce me softly. Ash, this is Chloe Lin, my best friend. That's Leo Lin, Chloe's brother. And that's... I mentally filed away the names, nodding occasionally. I noticed the guy with the trendy red hair, Leo Lin, had been staring at me since I walked in, with suspicion. Heard you're still in school, he asked. Which university? Jiangxing University. I fabricated, using a school name from my hometown. Never heard of it, Leo shot back immediately. Third tier? Vocational. I didn't answer, nor did I show annoyance. Beside me, Vivian bit her lip slightly. Chloe smacked her brother's arm. Come on, Leo. Not everyone has to go to Fudan like you. Fortunately, the waiter arrived with a round of drinks, easing the awkward tension. Vivian thoughtfully handed me a glass, ordering warm milk for herself. Ash, this is their signature drink. Give it a try. I took a sip. Sharper than beer, not as sweet as iced tea. Definitely not used to fancy stuff. So, how did you two meet? Chloe leaned forward conspiratorially, eyes gleaming with curiosity. Ahem. I hired Ash as a gaming companion. Vivian smiled, her fingers resting lightly on my wrist. I found out he was really skilled, and a good person too. We gradually got to know each other. The coolness of her fingertips seeped through my skin. Clearly, she was nervous about lying too. Gaming companion? Leo scoffed, tapping his glass rim, making a faint scraping sound. Vivian, since when are you into that sort of thing? Is there a problem? Vivian's tone remained gentle, but I detected an undercurrent of unease. Leo shifted his gaze and shrugged. Nothing. Just think you've changed. Ever since last time with Julian Shun. Vivian's expression froze instantly. I don't want to talk about that. Sorry. Leo held up his hands, then glanced at me again. I'm just worried you'll get scammed by some jerk. Ice melted slowly in the amber liquid. My gaze shifted from the ice in my glass to Leo's face. Out of Vivian's line of sight, I offered him a challenging smirk. Leo froze, then nearly flipped the table. What are you smiling at? Chloe sighed, exasperated. Leo, what's with you tonight? So jumpy. If you hadn't sworn you weren't interested in Vivian, I'd think you were jealous. You didn't see it. Leo stood up, pointing a finger at me. He's totally playing her. A manipulator. Vivian instinctively looked at me. I had already schooled my features back into calm indifference, tilting my head slightly, eyes wide with innocent confusion. What? Damn it. He's acting. Leo ground his teeth. Vivian, you can't be with someone like this. Enough. Vivian raised her voice for the first time. This is my choice, Leo. I hope you can respect it. Leo's mouth hung open, speechless. Finally, he slumped back down, grabbed his drink, and took a large gulp. Hey, Leo, take it easy. You know you can't hold your liquor. Chloe muttered beside him. Just then, I felt the eggplant padding shifting precariously. I quickly adjusted my posture while pretending to sip my drink, trying to avert disaster. But it was too late. The padding slid downwards, the bindings loosening completely. Damn it. Should have splurged on professional gear instead of this cheap thing. Chloe seemed to notice my slight frown. You okay? Feeling unwell? The drinks here can be strong for newcomers. Fine. I answered curtly, then turned to Vivian. Where's the restroom? I'll take you. Vivian started to get up. No need, just point the way. I stopped her immediately, wanting to avoid any awkward close-ups of awkward bulges. Over there. Out the door, turn right. End of the hall. Chloe helpfully directed. I nodded thanks, stood up as naturally as possible, one hand subtly pressed against my waist, and made a beeline for the restroom. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Then another problem arose. Men's room or women's? I hesitated for half a second, glanced at my male attire in a reflective surface, and pushed open the men's door. Empty. I breathed a sigh of relief. Feeling the eggplant bindings give way completely, I quickly clutched my waistband and hurried towards a stall. But just as I pushed open the stall door, the main restroom door swung open again with a heavy thud. Leo strode in, smelling faintly of alcohol. Hey. My back stiffened, but only for a moment. I stepped into the stall, reaching for the lock. Leo grabbed my arm from behind. Hey, I'm talking to you. Stop pretending you're deaf. What is it? I tensed, my other hand gripping my waistband for dear life. Leo sneered. Vivian's family is rich. Richer than your poor imagination can possibly conceive. Understand. Understood. Can you let go now? My voice was strained. Oh God. Oh God. The liberated eggplant was now sliding down my thigh. If it fell out of my pant leg, it was game over. You don't understand. Vivian's never dated anyone. She's very naive. And lately, she's been through some stuff. That's why she's acting out like this. Leo's tone suddenly softened. So if you're just after her money, you better stop right now. That's between her and me. I snapped, yanking my arm free. Now I need to use the toilet. Can you stop blocking the door like some kind of pervert? My words were like fuel on fire. Leo grabbed my wrist again, his nails digging into my flesh. Fuck, you're just some country bumpkin with a pretty face. Who do you think you are, acting so high and mighty? Leo yanked me forcefully towards him, so close I could feel his breath. You? In that instant, the eggplant on my thigh finally gave up the ghost, sliding down my pant leg with a soft rustle of fabric. Leo's gaze dropped, saw the unnatural bulge, and his expression went blank. You're panicked. I yanked the eggplant out from my pant leg and smacked him over the head with it. Get lost, you creep. When I returned to the booth after washing my hands, Vivian was chatting sideways with Chloe. But she was clearly distracted, her amber eyes frequently darting towards the bar entrance, as if waiting for someone. Waiting for that Julian Shin guy, I guessed. Seeing me return, Vivian started, as if momentarily forgetting her boyfriend. She quickly looked away, forcing a slightly stiff smile. Ash, you're back. Everything okay? I shook my head. Chloe also looked behind me. Where's my brother? He didn't give you trouble, did he? He insisted on going after you went to the restroom, and I couldn't exactly tie him to the seat. I shook my head again. Chloe sighed. My brother isn't really a bad guy. He's always treated Vivian like a little sister, just overly protective. Ash, did Leo say anything to you? Vivian asked, her eyes flickering. Not much. I sat back down beside her. Just some guy talk. Before the worry could deepen on Vivian's face, I added nonchalantly. But he drank too much. When I left, he was hugging the toilet, puking. Hope he's okay. Hope he's okay after I knocked him out cold with an eggplant, sending him into blissful, baby-like sleep. Hearing this, Vivian and Chloe exchanged surprised glances. Chloe pressed her forehead, clearly embarrassed by her brother. Told him. Can't handle his liquor, but still tries to act tough. Ugh, I'll go check on him. Make sure he hasn't drowned in the toilet bowl and made me an only child. She grabbed another male friend for backup, winking at Vivian as she left. The night is young. You two lovebirds chat away. Blushing slightly at the implication, Vivian didn't know what to say and handed me another drink instead. Blue. Very pretty. Vivian then picked up her glass of milk and gently tapped mine. Ash, thank you for coming to meet me. I took a sip of the pretty blue drink. Cold and sweet, much better than the last one. No need for thanks. I took another sip before continuing. I'm just here for the money. Caught off guard by my directness, the blush on Vivian's face faded slightly, her lips tightening. But then, her gaze suddenly shot past my shoulder, fixing on something in the distance. Vivian's expression changed instantly, tensing like freshly dried clay. I turned around to see a couple entering through the main door, like a cold draft blowing into the warm bar. The man wore a simple but high-quality white shirt. His features were strikingly clean, his aura possessing a coolness out of place in this lavish setting. His brow was furrowed, as if he'd been dragged here against his will. Beside him, the woman had long, milk tea-colored curly hair and wore an off-the-shoulder pink dress, looking cute and bubbly. She was currently looking around curiously, undisguised wonder in her eyes. Hey, isn't that Julian Shun, the guy the Lou sponsored since he was a kid? And the girl with him is? Someone whispered, gossipy glances darting towards Vivian. Vivian merely looked down, smoothing her already neat skirt. After a few more seconds, she stood up, the movement still seeming a bit rushed. Julian, over here. Julian Shun's gaze swept over, taking in the people at the booth. His thin lips pressed together as he slowly walked over. He looked exactly like someone forced into an uncomfortable situation. Seeing this, my eyebrow quirked slightly. I sized him up from across the room. Not as handsome as me, not as tall as me with my lifts, just colder. As they approached, I noticed Julian was carrying a small gift bag. Happy birthday, he offered the gift. Vivian's eyes lit up instantly. She took the small bag with both hands. Thank you, Julian, I love it. Then, as if realizing she'd overreacted, Vivian blushed faintly and cleared her throat. She turned to me, trying to recover. Ash, this is Julian Shun. Julian, this is Ash, my boyfriend. The word boyfriend floated lightly from her lips, yet carried a subtle weight. Julian looked at me briefly, then averted his gaze again. No discernible emotion, until a small fist lightly punched his arm. Julian, you're terrible. Now not only Julian, but also Vivian froze, the smile stiffening on her face. How could you forget to tell me today was Miss Lou's birthday? Now I came empty-handed without preparing anything. It's so rude. The girl punched Julian a few more times before bowing repeatedly to Vivian. I'm so sorry, so sorry. Miss Liu. Hello, my name is Lily Yu. I really didn't know it was your birthday. I'll definitely get you a gift next time. Her timid demeanor made it seem like Vivian might scold her into tears at any moment. No need to apologize. It's not important. Julian frowned, displeased, stopping Lily. She won't mind about things like this. He didn't seem bothered by Lily's punches, his tone laced with a hint of exasperated fondness, as if placating a clueless child. I noticed Vivian's fingers tighten on the gift bag, her knuckles turning white. That phrase, she won't mind about things like this, absolved Lily while defining Vivian. He made the decision for Vivian without even looking at her. Now I roughly understood why Vivian hired me to play her boyfriend. I stood up. You're right. Then my right hand gently rested on Vivian's shoulder. Our Vivian certainly doesn't bother with unimportant people. Vivian's shoulder trembled slightly. Those beautiful amber eyes looked up at me in surprise. I gave her a small smile, smoothly guiding her back into her seat. Getting paid to do a job, delivering value for money. In my line of work, protecting the client comes first. True in games, even truer in reality. Julian finally turned his gaze fully towards me, his frown deepening. Lily Yu stared, undisguised admiration flashing in her eyes. This was also the first time Vivian had seen me smile. She stared for a moment before remembering her manners. Julian and Miss Yu, please sit down too. It's just a casual get-together with friends tonight. No need to be formal. Julian's lips formed a straight line. He didn't respond to Vivian, but pulled out chairs for Lily and himself. His stiff back and tight jawline betrayed his discomfort. A waiter arrived promptly to take their order. Lily scanned the expensive menu, then said timidly, I don't really know much about these. She'll have an orange juice, Julian stated flatly, his expression composed. I'll just have lemon water. This down-to-earth choice actually made me feel a flicker of kinship. I couldn't help but glance at Julian again. He completely ignored me. Julian, you can order something else. It's my treat tonight. Vivian couldn't resist saying. Her voice was soft, tinged with habitual deference and a touch of humility. Thank you, no need. I didn't want to come here in the first place, so there's no reason to spend money. Julian cut her off coolly. The distance, even wrapped in politeness, was sharp. Vivian flinched slightly, seemingly unable to bear it any longer. She covered her mouth and abruptly stood up. Sorry, I need to use the restroom. I'll go with you. Lily immediately offered enthusiastically. Suddenly, only Julian and I were left in this corner of the booth. The others seemed to sense the brewing storm and pretended to be deeply engrossed in conversation, avoiding entanglement. With the lady gone, I didn't need to keep up the pretense. I relaxed back against the seat, sipping my drink, just missing a cigarette. Julian's peripheral vision lingered on me for a moment, assessing. I turned my face towards him directly. Like what you see. Startled by my direct gaze, Julian froze for a second, like a rabbit caught in headlights. Silence means yes, meaning he hadn't recognized I was actually a woman. How long have you two been dating? Julian suddenly asked. Glass rim touching my lips, I lifted my eyelids slightly. What's it to you? I replied quickly. Julian's features were frosty, but a flicker finally appeared in his eyes. Your manners are as cheap as your clothes. I slowly drained my glass, the alcohol leaving a burning trail down my throat. Quite the vocabulary for a student sponsored by the rich. I finally let out a lazy laugh. Even your insults are more refined. Julian's gaze finally locked onto mine, sharp as a blade on glass. The male gamer pal Vivian was ordering from frequently a while back. That was you, wasn't it? Guess so. My tone was calm, provocative. Got a problem with that? I don't. Julian stared at me. But the Liu family will. They aren't ordinary people. Do you think a gamer pal who butters up women for money can get very far? The light cast shadows on his slightly clenched jawline, outlining a sharp edge. I smirked mockingly. You should ask yourself that question. A flash of annoyance crossed Julian's eyes. Don't change the subject. You think Vivian actually likes you? His voice turned cold. She's just using you to make me jealous. Oh, so you're well aware. I raised an eyebrow. If you know, why did you still bring Little Miss Sunshine over there? Desperate to prove you don't care? Julian's expression faltered slightly, then regained composure. Lily and I are just in the same lab. She asked me to bring her here today to experience. Uh-huh. I cut him off, uninterested. Thinking I didn't believe him, Julian's irritation grew. Listen, I don't care who you are, or what deal you have with Vivian, but I advise you to back off now. Or else you'll regret it, Julian said coldly. The Liu family isn't someone like you can climb up to. I chuckled softly. And you? Aren't you climbing too? Julian's expression turned instantly glacial. What do you mean? Exactly what I said. I looked him straight in the eye. My guess is, you have feelings for Vivian too, but your pride won't let you admit it. Now that you see her with someone else, you can't sit still. Julian's face turned ashen, fingers clenching. What do you know? More than you think. I glanced towards the restrooms. For example, Vivian has suffered enough because of you. Julian froze. Just as he was about to speak again, footsteps approached from the direction of the restrooms. Chloe returned, supporting a pale Vivian. Lily followed behind, looking startled. Behind them, the male friend Chloe had dragged off was practically carrying a swaying, red-haired figure. And so, I looked up and met Leo Lin's eyes, hazy with drink, yet unnervingly clear. My expression twitched. What the hell? The guy I knocked out with an eggplant. How was he awake already? Now that this young master was awake, heaven knew what he might reveal. Leo, half supported, half dragged by his friend, stumbled towards the booth, his steps unsteady, but his eyes never left me. I forced myself to remain impassive, looking away, alarm bells screaming in my head. How much did he remember from the bathroom? Had he figured out I was a woman? Chloe wrestled her brother into a seat, grumbling. Leo, drink some water, sober up. How could you get that drunk, lying flat on the floor? I almost thought you were dead. A faint red mark still showed on Leo's temple. He took a sip of water. I wasn't drunk, passed out. Someone hit me with something in the bathroom. My heart skipped a beat. My fingers tightened around my glass. What? Chloe's eyes widened, almost jumping up. Someone dared to hit you here? Why aren't we calling the police? No need. Probably just startled someone when I stumbled, being drunk. Leo didn't look at me, brushing it off. Not a big deal. No need for cops ruining the mood. Leo then turned to Julian. Heard you're working on some lab project recently. How's it going? Promising. Facing Leo, Julian's demeanor relaxed noticeably. It's all right. Currently researching a new type of biodegradable material. My grip on the glass loosened. I looked up, suspicious. That's it. Why didn't he just expose me? Or had I not been exposed? Maybe Leo had been too drunk back then to clearly see the eggplant I'd wielded. But just as I relaxed, something lightly brushed against my ankle. I glanced under the table. Leo's leather shoe tip was subtly grazing the side of my sneaker. Fuck. I snapped my head up. Leo pointedly wasn't looking at me. Was he testing me? Or flirting? Did that eggplant smack knock his preferences sideways? Jesus, this was terrifying. I jerked my foot back, rubbing the goosebumps off my arm. I tried to endure it, but couldn't resist leaning close to Vivian and whispering, going for a smoke. Money's hard to earn, life's hard to swallow. Needed a cigarette to calm my nerves. Vivian nodded obediently, her eyes looking a bit lost, preoccupied. In the smoking area, I pulled a cigarette from the pack, stuck it between my lips, then realized I'd forgotten my lighter. Right on cue, Leo's persistent voice sounded from behind. Need a light. A silver Zippo lighter appeared before me, lighting my cigarette without asking. In the flickering flame, his gaze was fixed intently on my face. What's your deal, really? He asked, his voice low. None of your damn business. I retorted curtly, making no effort to hide my repulsion. The nicotine calmed my nerves slightly, making my voice naturally huskier. Leo wasn't offended, instead chuckling. Back in the bathroom, felt like something hit my head. When I came to, I only remembered a blurry image, you holding something long and hard. He tilted his head, looking at me. What was it? My heart hammered, but my face remained a mask of cold disdain. My fist, or a drunken hallucination. I exhaled smoke, casually adding, what else? Couldn't have hit you with my dick, could I? Leo was silent for a moment, his gaze dropping to my waist, then my pants. A chill shot up my spine. Sicko. I took a large step back, face full of disgust. I'm not gay. Leo started, cleared his throat, looked away, ears turning slightly red. And neither am I. I only like women. I frowned, unconvinced. You only like women, but you're staring there? Creep. This time, Leo didn't answer immediately. Instead, he reached out and took the cigarette from between my fingers. Before I could react, he put the filter I'd just touched to his lips and took a slow drag. Then he froze. I froze. And then my actual fist made intimate contact with his head again. Returning to the booth, I walked quickly, face stony, like shaking off something dirty. Leo followed behind, rubbing his temple, walking slower, looking equally displeased. Fortunately, the conversation at the booth had entered some delicate territory, and no one seemed to notice our strange return. Julian is amazing. Lily, you gushed, eyes full of adoration. And he's so nice. I'm just a freshman, and he looks out for me so much. He invited me here today. Otherwise, I'd never have seen such a fancy bar. Julian frowned slightly, uncomfortable, His gaze flickered towards Vivian, then quickly away. Vivian's expression had frozen into a polite smile, the light in her eyes dimming. "How did you two meet?" I interjected suddenly, as if asking casually. "You seem close." Meeting my gaze, Lily's eyes brightened, and she answered shyly. "I got lost when I first started school, and Julian helped me. Later we found out we're in the same department and from the same hometown. He's super nice, helps me with homework, got me into the lab, and yeah, we all know Julian is a great guy," Chloe drawled sarcastically, biting off each word sharply. After all, he owes his success today to the Liu family's charity. Of course, he'd jump at the chance to pass on that kindness. Chloe, Vivian's face, which had just relaxed, turned pale again. She tugged Chloe's sleeve. "Stop it." The atmosphere immediately grew heavy. Julian looked down, his eyes dark. Lily looked pitiful, as if unsure what she'd said wrong. And so, the birthday party dissolved unhappily. I don't even remember if the cake that was eventually brought out was eaten, because I got drunk. By the time I realized those pretty drinks Vivian kept handing me were alcoholic and packed a punch. It was the next day. Morning sunlight grazed my nose. I woke up in a huge hotel bed, blinking, completely disoriented. A week later, I tilted my head back, staring at the magnificent ceiling above. Crystal chandeliers cascaded like golden waterfalls, perfectly illuminating the smiling faces of the assembled dignitaries and socialites. This was the Liu family's charity auction gala, held in Shanghai CBD. Any single item up for auction could probably cover half my lifetime earnings as a gamer pal. Though billed as a charity event, it felt more like a networking party for the wealthy. Turning my head, I looked at my reflection in the window pane. Black tuxedo, dark red-soled leather shoes, diamond-patterned cufflinks. This entire expensive ensemble, from head to toe, was custom-made for me by Vivian. "Don't be nervous," Vivian whispered beside me. Tonight, she wore a pale gold gown, her hair swept up elegantly, a string of pearls gleaming softly around her neck. She looked breathtakingly beautiful. "Do I look nervous?" I pulled my gaze back. Vivian smiled faintly. "No, you look calm. Too calm." I didn't reply, my mind drifting back to a week ago, the birthday party drunkenness, and the hotel. When I sat up in that luxurious hotel bed, legs shaky, mind blank. In that moment, I was sure my cross-dressing secret was out. But looking down, my clothes were disheveled but intact. And the culprit was huddled nearby, maintaining a safe distance, her face redder than a summer tomato. "I didn't do anything to you," she'd stammered nervously. "I slept on the sofa last night, believe me." I believed her, because the eggplant in my pants hadn't shifted an inch. That was unexpected. Vivian had gotten me drunk merely to create the illusion that we'd slept together. The innocent socialite hadn't even dared to help me undress, just loosened my collar, smeared her lipstick over my neck and cheeks, snapped a few photos, and posted them online. It was Xiao level crime scene staging. But even this simple trick was enough to set her social circle buzzing, eventually reaching Julian Shen's ears. As for Julian's reaction, I'd soon see for myself. A stir near the entrance drew my attention. A familiar figure appeared. Julian Shen, clad in a well-tailored white suit, still projecting that air of aloof detachment. He looked more polished than last time, almost like a young nobleman. And beside him, unsurprisingly, was Lily Yu, clinging to his arm. The smile on Vivian's face instantly faded. She pressed a hand to her lower abdomen, seemingly uncomfortable again. "Sorry, Ash, I need the restroom." I nodded. The moment Vivian left my side, the surrounding whispers grew louder. "Hey, look over there. Is that the Liu heiress's new guy? Some celebrity? He's incredibly handsome. If he were a celebrity, I'd know him. Probably some third-rate actor, or maybe a male model from some club." "Neither. Heard she met him online. But he really is good-looking, has this androgynous beauty." Yeah, they used to boast about the strict Liu family rules, how Vivian was raised by a British governess, the perfect traditional lady. Looks like she plays around quite a bit now. Even if the woman's conservative, the man can still be proactive. I bet that pretty boy saw the Liu family fortune and wants to be a kept man. Ultimately, isn't it because Vivian got dumped by that Julian Shen guy her family sponsored? She's acting out. Speaking of Julian Shen, he really has integrity. If he married Vivian, wouldn't the entire Liu Corporation eventually be his? Exactly. What good is being handsome? He's just a fling. For a husband, you need someone ambitious like Julian Shen. And so on. As if under a stupidity curse, some wealthy people loved viewing the poor through the shallowest lens. I couldn't be bothered, finding a less crowded corner to continue being a decorative vase. "Hey." A male voice startled me from the side. "Hiding out here alone?" Recognizing Leo Lin's voice, my brow furrowed before I even turned. Leo was also in a suit tonight, his red hair still flamboyant, showing no sign of toning it down. Not used to these kinds of events, I finally said, my tone far from friendly. Leo shrugged. Didn't like them either when I was a kid. Too many rules, too many fake faces. I looked at Leo. The bruise on his temple had faded. Typical case of forgetting the pain once the wound heals. Leo offered me a glass of champagne. But you're different. I didn't take it, remaining silent for a moment, unsure how to respond to this strange acknowledgement. Getting beaten up twice by me, and still coming back for more? Was this Leo guy secretly an M? Did I accidentally satisfy some hidden kink? Rich people. Terrifying. Meanwhile, applause erupted from the center of the room as a man around 50 walked onto a temporary stage. That's Mr. Liu, Vivian's father, Leo informed me. Mr. Liu took the microphone, his tone dignified and amiable. Friends, thank you all very much for being here tonight. The Liu Foundation's annual charity night has been held for 15 years now, and I'm delighted to see so many familiar faces. The opening remarks finished quickly. Amidst warm applause, Mr. Liu continued. Next, please allow me to invite a young man to the stage to speak. He is someone I regard as my own son, and the first beneficiary of the Liu Education Fund. Please welcome Julian Shun, Leo narrated beside me. Mr. Liu brought him back personally 15 years ago during an inspection trip to an impoverished county. Julian was only 10 then. Family was very poor, 5 older sisters working menial jobs. The Lius raised him, alongside Vivian. So they're basically childhood sweethearts. I raised an eyebrow slightly, but said nothing. 5 older sisters working menial jobs. He was considered impoverished? What did that make me? A sewer rat? Leo looked towards the composed Julian on stage, a hint of melancholy in his voice. Actually, when they were kids, Julian and Vivian were incredibly close, inseparable. Obvious mutual affection during their teens too. But later, too many gossips started whispering that the Lius were grooming Julian to be their son-in-law, even raising him to be a servant for Miss Liu, to wait on her hand and foot. I finally spoke. So Julian started distancing himself from Vivian? Pretty much. He changed after that. Still respectful towards Mr. and Mrs. Liu, but towards Vivian. Leo sighed. People from poor backgrounds often have stronger pride than others. It's tragic. A talented person forced to build his life around others' gossip, using distance as the only way to protect his dignity. I couldn't help but chuckle. So in his eyes, accepting the Liu family's support is repaying kindness, but feelings for Vivian become social climbing? Catching my smile, Leo's gaze flickered, momentarily stunned. What? I suppressed my smile. What? Leo cleared his throat, looking away. Ahem. I mean, what are your thoughts? I said flatly. My thought is, you rich folks have way too much drama. Leo laughed too. That's why I said you're different. Same, I said seriously. If I get rich, I'll be the first to forget my roots. You're really something. Leo stared at me again, captivated. I'm starting to understand why Vivian likes you. I couldn't take it anymore. Needed to get away from this M/closet case who'd read too many CEO novels. Luckily, Julian's speech ended quickly. People circulated with champagne glasses, mingling and chatting. Hey, wait. Leo seemed to have more to say, but I was already moving, putting 800 steps between us, heading straight for Vivian, who had just emerged from the restroom. Are you okay? I observed her pale face, taking off my jacket and draping it over her shoulders. Vivian shook her head, then said softly, He's changed so much. The he obviously referred to Julian. Though physically absent during Julian's speech, Vivian had clearly listened intently from a corner. When Dad first brought him home, he barely spoke, always watching everyone warily. I taught him how to use a knife and fork, how to tie a tie, even how to make small talk. Vivian's voice choked slightly. He wasn't like this towards me before. Not this cold. I couldn't help but glance towards Julian. Beside him stood a beaming Lily Yu, the two standing very close, intimately. And when Lily said something to him with adoring eyes, Julian actually revealed a rare smile. He was never a cold person. He just wasn't warm towards her. Without looking at Vivian's face, I could guess the extent of the desolation and heartbreak written there. Just then, a smiling man approached. Vivian, dear, your birthday passed, right? I remember young Sean is a few months older. The man, looking like an elder relative, asked cheerfully. You're both at that age now. Isn't it time you two settled the marriage? This salt in the wound made Vivian freeze, her smile barely holding. Mr. Zhou, Julian and I are just friends. Her voice trembled slightly. Besides, I have a boyfriend now. Oh, is that so? Mr. Zhou finally glanced at me, with obvious disdain and dismissal. I watched you two grow up together. Everyone knows you've liked Julian since you were kids. Your Liu family raised him all these years. Wasn't it precisely for Mr. Zhou? Vivian raised her voice, cutting him off, drawing stares from nearby guests. Overhearing the commotion, Julian and Lily walked over. Mr. Zhou. Julian greeted politely, then nodded at Vivian. Vivian. His gaze finally rested briefly on me, expressionless, like looking at an insignificant passerby. Ah, young Shen, you're here? Perfect. Mr. Zhou clapped Julian's shoulder happily. I was just asking Vivian, when are you two planning to get married? I clearly saw Julian's face darken instantly. Lily's smile vanished, her lip bitten in annoyance and distress. Mr. Zhou, you misunderstand. Julian's voice was calm and distant. Vivian and I are just ordinary friends who grew up together. Not the kind of relationship you're thinking of. The merciless denial made Vivian shrink slightly, lowering her eyes. But Mr. Zhou, seemingly oblivious to the awkwardness, continued persuading. Ah, friends, schments. Everyone knows the Liu family treats you like half a son, and Vivian likes you so much. Isn't it natural for you two to be together? Julian's frown deepened. Mr. Zhou, I'm grateful for the Liu family's support, but Mr. Liu didn't raise me to be some son-in-law. I achieved what I have today through my own efforts, not by depending on anyone. His words were final, making the surrounding glances even more peculiar. Mr. Zhou's face turned unpleasant. Young Shun, I watched you grow up. Mr. Zhou's tone became slightly forceful. You understand things better than anyone. Mr. Zhou glanced at Lily beside him, with the same disdain. Vivian has liked you since she was little. Everyone knows that. For you to suddenly bring an outsider and claim you're just friends with Vivian, isn't that rather ungrateful? The air grew thick, oppressively uncomfortable. Lily let out a small gasp, as if Julian's fingers had unintentionally dug into her arm. Young Shun, the Liu family's kindness towards you, you mustn't forget. Enough. Mr. Zhou was still rambling when Vivian cut him off. Her voice held back tears. This is between him and me. No one else needs to interfere. Yes, I liked him, but so what? He never truly accepted me. She looked at Julian. Julian Shin, do you hate me that much? What did I ever do wrong growing up? Why can you be nice to everyone else, but only to me? Tears finally escaped. Vivian wiped them away haphazardly with the back of her hand. Yes, I like you. I've liked you since we were kids. Is that so shameful? Is your so-called pride so important that you'd rather hurt me to prove you're not dependent on the Liu family? Julian stood frozen, complex emotions flickering in his eyes, but he remained silent. A heavy silence, a wordless rejection. Vivian's carefully maintained composure finally crumbled under the weight of disappointment. Fine, whatever. You think I found Ash to spite you? No, it's because I'm over you. Did you know? I'm pregnant. The words dropped like a bomb, exploding in the banquet hall. What? Julian finally spoke, each word forced from his throat. You pregnant? That's right. I'm pregnant. The child is Ash's. Vivian stated firmly, then turned to me, tears streaming down her face. Ash, I'm sorry. I didn't plan to announce it like this, but I just couldn't hold back. The entire hall fell into dead silence. All eyes focused on me, including Julian's, stripped bare of their usual coolness. Shock, accusation, jealousy, hatred, and perhaps a sliver of regret. My own brain short-circuited. Pregnant? Mine? What kind of joke was this? As a 100% female, I couldn't possibly be the father. I took a deep breath, stepped forward, and gently put an arm around Vivian's shoulder. It's true, my voice was surprisingly calm. We were planning to tell everyone once things were more stable. An uproar swept the room. Mr. Liu's face was thunderous. Mrs. Liu covered her mouth in disbelief. Only Lily Yu showed a thoughtful expression, as if a previous suspicion had just been confirmed. You're that gamer, pal? Mr. Liu approached, his voice icy. I straightened my spine, meeting his gaze directly. Yes, but I'm serious about Vivian. Ash. Vivian gripped my hand tightly, like a lifeline. I could feel the sweat in her trembling palm. I know. I looked down at her. Don't worry. I won't let you face this alone. Vivian started, the gratitude flooding her tear-filled eyes, overwhelming everything else. Impossible. Julian spoke again, his voice like thunder. All eyes turned to him, but Julian stared intently at me. How long have you known each other? This is absolutely impossible. I felt Vivian tremble slightly under my arm. Feelings aren't measured by time. I responded calmly. You, of all people, should know that. Julian just shook his head slowly, turning to Vivian. Vivian, are you sure you want to be with someone like this? A guy who sells his time playing games with girls? Do you know how many girls he's accompanied? How dirty he might be. Chloe couldn't hold back any longer. Well, Mr. Shun, are we jealous now? Didn't you just say you and Vivian were merely ordinary friends? She retorted sarcastically. Julian glared at Chloe, eyes practically shooting fire. Shut up. All right, everyone stop arguing. Mr. Liu spoke again, his voice deep. His expression remained unchanged, maintaining decorum. Honored guests, I apologize for this interruption. The gala will continue. Please enjoy the food and wine. Then, Mr. Liu turned to Vivian and me, his voice low and tense. You two, come with me. Before leaving, I glanced back one last time at Julian. He stood frozen, gazing at Vivian's profile for a long moment, his eyes lingering on her abdomen, before abruptly turning and storming away. In a private lounge adjacent to the ballroom, Mr. Liu sat behind a large desk in a leather chair. Mrs. Liu stood beside him. Vivian and I stood before them like two naughty children. Vivian, are you really pregnant? Mr. Liu's voice was calmer than expected, but carried undeniable authority. Vivian kept her head bowed deeply, then nodded. How far along? A little over a month. Vivian's voice was barely audible. I stood beside her, outwardly composed, heart pounding like a drum. This lie was spiraling. If Vivian was pregnant, the child definitely wasn't mine. So who was the real father? Mr. Gu. Mr. Liu turned to me, his gaze sharp as an eagle's. What are your intentions? I snapped back to attention, taking a deep breath. I'll take responsibility. Responsibility? Mr. Liu scoffed. Do you know what responsibility entails? What kind of life can a game companion offer Vivian? Dad, Vivian suddenly spoke up. It's not Ash's fault. It was me. I initiated it. Vivian, Mrs. Liu gasped. How could you? What's the use of saying that now? You, as her mother, spend all your time shopping and traveling, dumping the child on some British governess. Look at the good daughter you've raised now, Mr. Liu scolded. Mrs. Liu paused, then redirected her anger. So I didn't teach her well, but did you, as her father, take any responsibility? Have you ever cared for her, even for a day? Seems you cared more about that Julian Shun than Vivian, making her so starved for love. That's enough. Mr. Liu waved his wife silent. His gaze shifted between Vivian and me, finally letting out a long sigh. Since things have come to this, you two will get engaged. Huh? Settled into the Liu family's understatedly luxurious Bentley, Vivian seemed completely drained of spirit. She slumped against the leather seat, undried tear stains clinging to her lashes, shimmering faintly in the car's soft interior light. Outside the window, the night was ink-dark, city lights beginning to bloom. I turned my head, watching Vivian's delicate profile flicker in and out of the passing streetlights. A privileged young woman from a wealthy family, yet she'd reduced herself to such a pathetic state over a man. Inviting ridicule, provoking scorn. I'm sorry I dragged you into this. Vivian finally broke the silence. I was too impulsive tonight. Seeing him deny everything so coldly, in front of so many people. I just lost control. Her voice was thick with unshed tears, like waterlogged silk, soft yet fragile. I don't know why. I've never lost control like that before, never disappointed anyone. I don't know. Seeing her curled up so small, an unexpected wave of sympathy washed over me. Not love, not even quite friendship. Just an instinctive female empathy. Forget it, I replied softly. I take the money, I take the heat. Part of the deal. I glanced at the driver, ensuring he couldn't hear, before asking. But, explain. Are you really pregnant? Vivian slowly lifted her head. Her makeup was smudged, the once carefully drawn eyeliner now blurred into faint shadows beneath her eyes. Yes, almost 2 months. I didn't mince words. But you know it's not mine. We didn't do anything. Couldn't do anything, either. Of course it's not yours. Vivian gave a bitter smile, wiping tears from the corner of her eye with the back of her hand. It's Julian's. Julian's. I froze, sitting up straighter. You and him. Vivian nodded, tears welling up again. I went to see him that day, wanted to talk about the rumors at his university, rumors he was dating some junior girl. We both drank a little that night, weren't thinking clearly, then went to a hotel, and it happened. She paused, her voice dropping even lower. When I woke up the next day, Julian said it was a mistake. Said he didn't love me, never had. Told me to forget that night. From that day on, he got even closer to that Lily Yu girl, she continued, as if nothing had ever happened between us. I leaned back against the seat, pinching the bridge of my nose. So you hire me to play your boyfriend, just to make him jealous, to win him back? Vivian looked up, apology in her eyes. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have involved you. I just love him so much. Since I was little, he's the only one I've ever liked. A short, sharp scoff escaped my throat. Lady, Get some standards. That self-pitying, conceited jerk? What exactly are you still hung up on? Vivian lowered her eyes, biting her lip. I don't know, but he kept saying my name that night. I thought maybe he still had feelings. For me, he's just so concerned about what others think. That's why I wanted to give him a little push, help him figure things out. Are you sure he's worth all this effort? I looked directly into her eyes. If he truly loved you, he wouldn't have immediately started messing around with another woman right after sleeping with you. Vivian looked down. No, you don't understand Julian. He's carried so much baggage since he was young. He's terrified people will say he's marrying up, terrified of being looked down upon. Excuses, I interrupted. Someone who truly cares about you wouldn't hurt you over things like that. He chose Lily Yu because she's easier to control, satisfies his ego, doesn't make him feel inferior. Vivian seemed stunned by my words. Her lips slightly parted, but no sound came out. The changing lights outside played across her face, revealing a momentary confusion. Besides, are you sure he was drunk that night too? I continued. Maybe you were genuinely out of it, but Julian definitely wasn't. Physiologically speaking, men can't perform when completely wasted. Don't you think he did it deliberately? What? And no, Julian isn't that kind of person. Vivian instinctively protested. I was momentarily speechless, unsure how to persuade this lovesick fool. Finally, I just asked, so what's your plan? For the baby. I want to keep it. Vivian's tone suddenly firmed, her hand gently resting on her still flat abdomen. No matter what, this is Julian's and my child. I nodded, saying no more. It was her choice, not my place to interfere. For a long while, the only sounds in the car were the soft whir of the air conditioning and the shush of tires on the road. Vivian's breathing gradually evened out. She spoke again, her voice clearer than before. Ash, you're really different from other guys. I thought with your sharp tongue, you'd mock me, subtly or not. Call yourself the guy cleaning up the mess. Accuse me of being tainted. I fell silent. I wouldn't, because I wasn't a guy. I sighed again. I'm not a professional relationship counselor, and I have no right to judge your choices. But as an outsider, I'll just say this, your plan sucks. Ash, you're really nice. Despite the insult, Vivian managed a watery smile. She looked up, tears shimmering under the mix of moonlight and streetlights. No friend has ever been this direct with me before. Vivian sniffled. Don't worry, I'll pay you the full agreed amount. I can even double it, as long as you continue. She didn't finish, but the plea in her eyes was unmistakable. Continue playing your boyfriend and the father of the baby in your belly? I finished for her. Vivian bit her lip and nodded. Just for a while longer. Until I figure out how to handle this. I didn't answer immediately, weighing the consequences. Continuing meant diving deeper into this lie. If my cross-dressing was exposed, I'd face not only fraud charges, but also a public scandal. Screw it. Fortune favors the bold. 20 million, I finally said. I want 20 million. Not directly, but as startup capital. I want you to be my angel investor. Vivian blinked, then smiled, relieved. Deal. She extended her hand, delicate and pale in the moonlight, looking strangely vulnerable. I extended mine, long and bony, nails clipped short, palms calloused from years of manual work. Under the moonlight, our hands clasped. In the following days, my identity as Vivian Liu's fiancé was rapidly made public. While the rest of the Liu family resisted, the importance of an heir eventually forced their reluctant acceptance. And so, the biggest gossip in Shanghai circles became. The Liu family's most proper, rule-abiding daughter had done the most outrageous thing. Online dating, flash engagement, pregnancy. And the baby daddy was supposedly a college kid whose endowment rivaled an eggplant. To which I could only say, well yeah, it was the size of an eggplant. Because it was a large eggplant. The Liu family's official statement was incredibly brief, confirming only my engagement to Vivian and my name, offering no other details, not even a blurry photo. Despite this, major online media and gossip blogs went into a frenzy. Overnight, I, an unknown nobody, became a public spectacle. Speculation ran wild. A new Liu family business alliance strategy, Vivian's delayed teenage rebellion. But miraculously, aside from the name Ash Gu released by the Lius, not a single outlet could dig up any more information on me. No academic records, no work history, no social media accounts, not even a clear ID photo. Because Ash Gu wasn't my name, not the legal name my parents registered on my household record. My real name was. Hey. A cold voice came from behind, like an icicle piercing the warm morning breeze. Low and hostile, it shattered my thoughts, chilling the surrounding air. Vivian and I turned simultaneously. Julian Shin stood nearby, sunlight silhouetting him, casting a long shadow on the ground. He hadn't slept well. Dark circles ringed his eyes, tiny blood vessels mapping the whites. The deliberately maintained clean-cut image was gone, replaced by a haggardness born of exhaustion and anxiety. "Julian," Vivian whispered, her breathing quickening, her expression instantly animated. She instinctively took half a step towards him, then remembered herself and retreated awkwardly. "Problem?" I frowned, annoyed. "Vivian and I are heading to the hospital for a checkup. How long do you plan on delaying us?" Julian shot me a cold glance, filled with undisguised contempt and disgust. His gaze then skipped over me, landing on Vivian. "Vivian, are you really content to debase yourself like this, ruin your reputation? Sleeping with a gamer pal just to get back at me, getting pregnant out of wedlock." I narrowed my eyes. "Do you even know how to talk like a human? If not, go gargle some rat poison." Julian looked at me, condescendingly. "Mr. Gamer Pal, you have no place to speak here. Who do you think you are? Just a tool Vivian's using to provoke me." I scoffed. "At least I don't sleep with someone and then deny it, turning around to flirt with another woman. There's a special term for that kind of behavior, lower than dirt." Julian's expression tightened, surprise and anger flashing in his eyes. "She told you." He looked away, towards Vivian. "Were you that eager to tell our business to an outsider?" Julian, it's not what you think." Vivian's voice held a plea, laced with hidden pain. "Then what is it? I hear Mr. Liu is already planning your engagement." Julian gritted his teeth. "Do you really think he can make you happy? Vivian, wake up. He's just another gold digger climbing your family ladder." Vivian fell silent, her face pale, looking like she might collapse. Seeing this, a complex emotion flickered in Julian's eyes. His tone softened slightly. "Vivian, we've known each other for years. I know you better than anyone. You've always been sensible, never caused trouble. I know this is just a momentary lapse, right?" His voice became almost a low coaxing, like placating a child throwing a tantrum. Vivian bit her lip, pain and hesitation warring in her eyes. I stood quietly beside her, giving her space to make her own choice. Vivian began hesitantly, her voice trembling almost imperceptibly. "All I know is, Ash would never distance himself from me or hurt me just to protect his pride." Seemingly unprepared for this response, Julian froze, then retorted, "You think I distanced myself because of pride? Isn't it true?" Vivian looked up, stubbornly demanding an answer. "Vivian, you've had everything since you were born, always the best. Yes, without the Liu family, I wouldn't be where I am today. But that doesn't mean I have to unconditionally accept you, unconditionally love you." His gaze drifted into the distance, his voice dropping, strained and suppressed. 15 years. That's long enough. Long enough that I can't tell what's genuine anymore, and what's a burden. From the moment I stepped into the Liu house at 10, my life was planned out. Best schools, Liu Corporation, marry the Liu heiress. Did anyone ever ask what I wanted? Vivian clenched her hands, her expression pained. Another reminder that her years of devotion were seen as such a heavy burden. "You really are half treasure, half trash. Pathetic." I wasn't buying his act, rolling my eyes. "The Liu family gave you the best education, the best environment, raised you like their own. Son, if you truly didn't want it, you could have left any day in those 15 years. Let one of your 5 sisters take your place. Instead, you enjoyed it all while playing the victim." Julian's eyes turned icy. "What do you know? A country bumpkin gamer pal. What right do you have to judge me? Do you know what it feels like to be talked about? Liu family adoptee, marrying in, kept man. Those labels never left me." "So," I raised an eyebrow, "is that your excuse for hurting Vivian? Because you're afraid of gossip, you transfer the pain onto her? As long as she still loved you, you could comfortably keep her as a backup. But the moment she actually tries to leave, you panic, you crumble." Rage flared in Julian's eyes. I panicked. "You think I owe her? 15 years living under someone else's roof, 15 years walking on eggshells. I've paid my dues." Vivian was spoiled rotten. She mistook my gratitude for love, my politeness for promises. But I never promised her anything. I stared at Julian. "Never, or just afraid to admit it. You were the one stringing her along, and now you're throwing a fit. Vivian loved you for years. And what did she get? You flirting with other women, your coldness and contempt. You just took all the benefits without wanting any responsibility. You." Hitting a raw nerve, Julian's face flushed crimson from neck to ears. His voice rose. "You don't understand. Why do you think I studied so hard, endured all their whispers? I had nothing, only the future I fought for. And Vivian, she was born with everything, money, status, family. She never understood my situation. At least Lily understands me, supports me. Unlike her, always acting like she's doing me charity. Vivian gasped softly, as if struck by an invisible hand. Her carefully cultivated poise shattered in that instant, tears silently tracing paths down her cheeks. Seeing this, Julian's mouth hung open, his voice cut off mid-sentence. His gaze darted between me and Vivian, finally settling on her abdomen. For a split second, he seemed about to reach out, perhaps to comfort her, perhaps to confirm something. But he quickly recoiled, pulling his hand back as if burned. Fingers clenched into fists, knuckles white. Finally, Julian's attitude softened, his anger seemingly quenched by Vivian's tears. "Vivian," he called softly, looking at her. "Don't cry. Go home. I'll talk to your father, explain things. Say we had some misunderstandings. As for this person," he glanced at me like I was dirt on the roadside. "Give him some money and send him away." Vivian looked up, dazed. "What do you mean?" "It's obvious," Julian said. "He's only close to you for the money, isn't he? People like him, money solves everything." "Vivian, I'm not stupid or blind. You've watched me for 15 years. How could you possibly move on so quickly? I know you're doing all this for me. I've thought it through these past few days." A flicker of hope sparked in Vivian's eyes, as if anticipating something. But Julian's next words mercilessly crushed it. "I'm doing this for your own good." Julian's tone was gentle. "You need to understand, the Liu family's reputation cannot be tarnished. Acting impulsively like this only brings shame upon your father. As for the baby, while it's still early, you can go to the hospital and terminate." "What if that baby is yours?" Vivian interrupted suddenly, her voice startlingly clear. "What?" Julian faltered, instinctively looking at me. "But you said it was his?" "Ash was hired to pretend to be my boyfriend." Vivian's eyes, unblinking, fixed on Julian. Her tears had stopped, replaced by a heart-wrenching calm. "We only met 2 weeks ago. The baby couldn't possibly be his." She paused, her voice rising slightly, tinged with an almost pleading stubbornness. "Julian Shun, believe me." I stood beside her, expression unchanged, tacitly confirming her words. Julian was still stunned, his expression wavering, panic and disbelief washing over him. Are you sure? It's my child?" "From that night. But how do I know how many others you've slept with since then?" "You." Thwack. A heavy fist cut Julian off mid-sentence, and likely broke his nose. Blood sprayed, splattering onto his white shirt in stark red dots. I grabbed Julian's collar, hauling him up from the ground. Face impassive, I raised my fist again, blood dripping from my scraped knuckles. "If this next punch doesn't knock the shit out of your brain, consider yourself lucky." In the hospital's VIP lounge, soft, warm yellow light replaced the harsh glare of the sun outside. Vivian sat quietly on the beige sofa, hands folded in her lap. I rubbed my scraped, swollen knuckles. They throbbed painfully. No wonder they said Julian Shun had backbone. His bones were indeed quite hard. "Earlier, thank you." She spoke suddenly, her voice very soft. "Thank you for standing up for me." I turned, looking at Vivian. Under this lighting, she looked even more exhausted, yet more real. The exquisite makeup couldn't hide the sorrow in her eyes, nor could the couture dress conceal the slight slump of her shoulders. "You don't owe me anything," I said, my voice softening unconsciously, closer to my natural pitch than the deliberately lowered tone. "You paid me. I did the job as agreed. Fair trade." Vivian paused, then gave a bitter smile. "Yes, fair trade." Her eyes suddenly dimmed. "But you know, Ash, sometimes I really wish." She trailed off, just shaking her head. After a long pause, Vivian spoke again. "Sometimes I think, maybe he wasn't the person I thought he was. The kind, responsible Julian Shun I admired since childhood might have only existed in my imagination. When he first came to our house at 10, his eyes were like a wary little animal's. But I was happy, because I finally had a friend. So I taught him how to use cutlery, how to face those arrogant stares." Her expression softened, a nostalgic fondness in her eyes, a faint smile playing on her lips. "When I was 12, a relative's kid called Julian a dog the Lius bought. Julian turned white with anger and ran off to cry in a corner of the garden. That was the first time I hit someone for him. My governess made me stand in the corner until midnight, saying it wasn't ladylike. When I was 16, Julian won his first scholarship. He told me happily, 'Vivian, look, I can finally stop owing your family.' I cried, secretly for a long time that night, because I realized he'd started seeing me as one of the Lius, not Vivian. Not a friend, but a debt. I stood quietly, listening as Vivian poured out years of unspoken thoughts. When I was 20, I heard Julian was close to another girl. I pretended not to care, but couldn't sleep at night, wondering what I really meant to him." Vivian continued, her voice growing calmer, more detached. And then, that night, just over 2 months ago, he suddenly kissed me. I was so happy. I thought I'd finally waited long enough. Waited for a love that was just mine. Turns out, he never trusted me at all. Her fingers stopped fiddling with her hair, instead gently tracing her lips, as if Julian's kiss still lingered, or perhaps trying to erase the painful memory. Vivian gave a soft laugh. I waited 15 years for him, but he never truly saw me. All trivial little things, not worth mentioning, yet they had profoundly tormented her young, developing soul. I couldn't help but recall an hour earlier, as I raised my fist again, ready to give Julian's face another rearranging. It was Vivian who stopped me, her slender hand surprisingly firm. "Ash," she said calmly, "let's go. I don't want to wait anymore." Then, without a backward glance at Julian, she took my hand and walked towards the car. "I'm calling the police. This isn't over." Julian's voice, muffled by blood, trailed after us. Anger, resentment, confusion, and perhaps a faint trace of regret. "Vivian Liu, you'll regret this. When you come to your senses, figure things out. Don't come begging me." His state was too pathetic. I didn't want Vivian to dwell on it. I shook my still aching right hand, pulling my thoughts back to the present. "So, what was it you didn't finish saying earlier? Sometimes you really wish what?" Caught off guard by my follow-up, Vivian seemed to start slightly. She was silent for a few seconds, her gaze flickering away, before finally answering in a low voice. "Wish some things weren't just transactions." She lowered her eyes, lashes casting small shadows on her cheeks. "Wish someone genuinely cared about me, not because of my family or money. Maybe some things aren't just simple transactions," I considered. "I remember, every time you booked me as a companion, you always chose the jungler role. Back then, my image of you stopped being rich, idle socialite, and became girl who likes playing such a high-skill position." Vivian met my eyes. She clearly hadn't expected me to remember such details, let alone view her from that perspective. "So from the start, you were brave. Daring to choose what you wanted, daring to tackle challenges," I said. Hearing my words, a faint blush rose on Vivian's cheeks. She looked down again, but a small smile involuntarily curved her lips. Her voice held a trace of embarrassment and self-doubt. "Really? But I always thought I was quite delicate." "Delicate doesn't mean weak," I said. "It implies refinement, grace. It's a good word." Vivian looked up, her amber eyes widening slightly, appearing exceptionally bright under the lights, like two sparkling gems, reflecting my image. Finally, she broke into a smile. "Thank you, Ash. If you hadn't been here this morning, I might have softened again, chased after him again, like countless times before. Maybe that's my biggest problem," she continued. "Too quick to forgive, too desperate for approval and love, often forgetting. He needs to protect his pathetic pride, and so do I. Right? But there's one more thing I've been meaning to tell you." "What is it?" Vivian tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. I looked at her seriously. "If you ever dare say anything like, 'I don't want lots and lots of money, I just want lots and lots of love,' I will smack you, girl or not." Vivian stared. Then suddenly, her shoulders began to shake uncontrollably. Then, she couldn't hold it back any longer and burst out laughing. Ha! Not a faint, forced laugh, but a genuine belly laugh that made her eyes sparkle. After a long moment, her smiling eyes gazed at me, as if searching for something. "Ash, can I ask you one more question?" "Go ahead. If the pretense ends, would you be willing to stay with me? I mean, really be together?" Another week later, early April, the weather already turning warm. Sunlight streamed through the car window onto Vivian's fair face. She sat in the passenger seat, right hand gently resting on her still flat abdomen. "About that, are you sure?" I asked from the driver's seat, keeping the car steady. Vivian nodded, looking down at her hands. "Yes, I've thought it through. I've decided." Before she could finish, a black sedan suddenly swerved out from the side, slamming into our car. "Fuck!" I instinctively threw an arm out in front of Vivian. The car shuddered violently, airbags deployed, windows shattered. The impact sent the car skidding several meters before screeching to a halt. "Ash, are you okay?" Vivian gasped, clinging tightly to her seatbelt, looking at me, still shaken. "Fine." I quickly scanned our surroundings. The smell of gasoline, dust, and burning plastic filled the air. Two masked men were already rushing towards the car. The taller one brandished an iron pipe, while the shorter one yanked at Vivian's door. "Watch where you're going. You hit my damn car. Get out." The shorter man yelled threateningly, his voice rough. I grabbed Vivian's hand. "Don't get out." But it was too late. The shorter man seized Vivian's arm and dragged her forcefully from the car. "Let her go." I scrambled out, unhesitatingly kicking the shorter man hard in the back. He clearly hadn't expected resistance, stumbling forward from the unexpected blow. Vivian staggered back against the car, crying out in pain, instinctively shielding her abdomen. The taller man immediately charged, swinging the iron pipe viciously towards Vivian's stomach. "Look out!" I lunged forward, taking the full force of the blow across my back. Searing pain exploded from my spine, a jolt of electricity shooting through my body, but I gritted my teeth and held my ground. "Ash!" Vivian screamed. Warmth spread across my back. I fought to stay conscious, rapidly assessing the situation. This wasn't random robbery or road rage. It was targeted. These two were after Vivian's belly. They wanted her to miscarry. "Run!" I yelled, turning. "Call the police." Seeing things go wrong, the two attackers exchanged glances and split up. One grabbed Vivian's arm again, while the other raised the pipe at me. I twisted away, simultaneously executing a leg sweep aimed at his knee. A sickening crack echoed. "Arg!" He howled in pain, dropping to one knee. "Damn kid, mind your own business," the taller one roared, attacking me again. This time I couldn't dodge completely. The pipe grazed my shoulder, sending a jolt of pain. But I clenched my jaw, grabbed the pipe, and wrestled with him. "Son of a..." The shorter man I'd kicked, enraged by the pain, suddenly pulled out a gleaming dagger, its blade cold in the sunlight. "Ash, careful!" Vivian shrieked. My pupils contracted, heart pounding violently. Were these guys serious? Playing for keeps? "Die!" The knife-wielding attacker charged like a wild beast, swinging the dagger at me. I ducked sharply, the blade whistling past my hair. I scrambled backward, searching for anything I could use. The shorter man roared again, aiming the knife straight for my heart. In the split second, Vivian desperately threw herself forward, wrapping her arms around the man's waist, tackling him off balance. Ugh! Caught off guard, the attacker stumbled, the dagger veering off course, slashing towards my foot. The blade traced a silver arc in the sun, accompanied by a sharp shink sound. A piercing sensation shot through my foot. Ignoring it, I slammed my knee into the attacker's jaw, forcing him to drop the knife. I felt my balance give way, inevitably falling towards the ground. Seeing this, the taller man retrieved his pipe, raising it again towards Vivian. The next second, a red sports car screeched to a halt beside us. The passenger door flew open, and Chloe Lynn tumbled out, along with one of her red high heels. The heel struck the tall man squarely on the forehead with uncanny accuracy, making his swing go wide. Simultaneously, Leo Lynn burst from the driver's seat, snatched the pipe, and threw the attacker aside. Chloe immediately pulled out her phone, shouting, "I've called the police. They're on their way." The remaining shorter attacker, realizing the situation was dire, struggled free from Vivian and turned to flee. Leo sprinted after him, tackling him from behind and pinning him to the ground with a practiced hold. "Vivian, are you okay?" Chloe hopped over on one foot, frantic. Vivian clutched her stomach, shaking her head, tears streaming down her face. "I am okay, but Ash." "Ash's foot." I frowned, testing it. "I'm fine. What about your foot?" Leo abandoned the subdued attacker and rushed over. "Don't move. Let me see how bad it is." Still sitting on the ground, I reacted instinctively to his overzealous concern, kicking him away. "Get lost." I said I'm fine. Leo landed on his backside, utterly shocked. Vivian and Chloe froze. In the awkward silence, I looked down at my right foot, which had just delivered a surprisingly forceful kick. The leather shoe was slashed open, revealing the 5 centimeters inner lift and the 3 centimeters outer lift. "Me." "Leo." Leo's gaze fixed on my shoe lifts, his mouth slightly agape. "You were lifts." I felt blood rush to my face, ears burning, mortified enough to wish the ground would swallow me whole. Cough. "Well, that's an unexpected bonus." Chloe's eyes crinkled, lips pressed tight, struggling to suppress her laughter. "Looks like those lifts are good quality. Double as self-defense gear." Soon, sirens wailed as police cars and an ambulance arrived. Flashing red and blue lights painted the chaotic scene. Paramedics quickly helped Vivian onto a stretcher, checking her condition. Police secured the scene, handcuffing the 2 bruised attackers and escorting them to patrol cars. Later, at the hospital, the scent of antiseptic filled the corridor. Vivian lay in a hospital bed, having just undergone a series of tests. I sat in a chair beside her, my cuts and scrapes bandaged, the bruise on my back still aching dully. "The fetus is unharmed," the doctor said, closing the report file. "But you'll need bed rest for a couple of days. Avoid strenuous activity." Vivian nodded silently. After the doctor left, silence descended upon the room. "Thank you, Ash," Vivian finally whispered, her voice barely audible. If it weren't for you. I just waved a hand. Don't worry about it. Just rest. That evening, 2 police officers arrived, their expressions grave. We've conducted preliminary interrogations of the 2 suspects, one officer said, opening his notebook. They confessed they were hired to stage this accident. The goal was to induce a miscarriage. Just as I suspected. I sat up straighter. Who hired them? A young woman named Lily Yu, the officer stated. Both suspects are from her hometown. She asked them to do this, offering 500,000 yuan as payment. Lily Yu. Vivian's face turned deathly pale. Why would she? The officer looked even more serious. According to their statements, Lily Yu claimed the baby you're carrying belongs to a man named Julian Shun. She was afraid Julian would leave her because of the child, so? Vivian's fingers clenched the bedsheet, knuckles white. Did Julian know about this? The suspects claimed Julian was aware of Lily Yu's plan, but didn't report it. Furthermore, Lily Yu likely couldn't afford the 500,000 on her own, the officer said, closing his notebook. We've already dispatched officers to investigate both Julian Shun and Lily Yu. We should have results soon. Whether Julian provided the money in one lump sum, or it accumulated from gifts during their earlier flirtation. The source of that $500,000 was Julian. How ironic. Thank you, officer. Vivian's voice trembled slightly. Could you please leave us for a moment? I need to process this. The officers looked at her sympathetically, nodded, and left the room. The moment the door closed, Vivian finally broke down, tears falling like broken strands of pearls. After a long time, she gradually calmed, wiping her eyes with a tissue. Ash, could you hand me my phone? I need to call my parents. Another week later, Liu family villa. The atmosphere in the Liu family living room was heavy. Vivian sat center stage on the sofa, Mr. Liu standing behind her, face grim. I sat beside Vivian, occasionally squeezing her trembling hand. Julian Shin stood in the middle of the room, face pale, eyes fixed on Vivian, seemingly hoping for a sign of forgiveness. Vivian, I honestly didn't know Lily would do something like that. Silence. Mr. Liu barked. You knew my daughter was carrying your child, yet you allowed another woman to harm her and the baby. How dare you even stand here? Julian lowered his head, unable to meet Mr. Liu's gaze. Uncle, I admit I made a mistake. I truly regret it. Lily just mentioned giving Vivian a lesson. I never thought she'd go so far. I tilted my head. Oh, so a lesson that wasn't so far would have been okay? Letting one woman hurt another for you while you conveniently disappear? Nice plan. Julian's face flushed. No, that's not what I meant. Mr. Liu's eyes filled with disappointment. Julian Shun, since I brought you into this family, have I ever treated you unfairly? Provided the best life, helped you get into the lab, paved the way for your future? I valued your talent and character. But now, it seems I was mistaken. The weight of that disappointment was immense, crushing Julian. His knees buckled, and he sank to the floor, the impact echoing dully on the marble. His former cool arrogance vanished completely. Uncle, please, give me one more chance. No more chances, Mr. Liu said coldly. Starting today, the Liu Corporation will withdraw all funding for you. The university collaboration is terminated immediately. As for that Lily Yu, I've instructed my lawyers to sue her for intentional assault. In the depths of despair, Julian seemed to grasp at a straw, a faint hope flickering in his eyes. He looked up, teary-eyed, at Vivian. Vivian, you believe me, right? Only you believe me. I really do love you. His voice rose on the last phrase, desperate, almost frantic, hands unconsciously reaching out like a beggar pleading for alms. I knew it was our child. How could I possibly harm my own child? I'll definitely take responsibility. Vivian finally looked up. She stood and walked towards Julian. His face, twisted with despair, softened slightly at this glimmer of hope. Then, she raised her hand. But before the slap, came the scent. No, not a scent, but those dark, clear eyes. Followed by a world-tilting spin. The force of the blow snapped Julian's head sharply to the side, an angry red handprint instantly blooming on his cheek. And then he finally understood. A woman's fury is a sword cleaving the heavens. Finally knew, a woman's slap brings no sweet perfume. The sheer force transmitted through those 5 fingers shattered his eardrums, along with his fragile ego, sinking it into the earth. Julian Shen, do you know? The day Ash and I went to the hospital, we were going there for surgery. To terminate this pregnancy. Julian lay stunned on the floor, clutching his face, staring at her in disbelief. What? Mr. Liu also looked astonished, speechless at Vivian's words and the preceding slap. I don't want to have your child. Vivian's voice was terrifyingly calm. Not for you. For myself. WHY. Julian couldn't believe his ears. Vivian, I thought you truly loved me. Vivian looked at him, a bright, clear smile on her face. Someone like you doesn't deserve love or hate. Half a month later, the dust had mostly settled. The fierce conflict of that day gradually faded, but its repercussions rippled outwards, affecting everyone involved. The misguided Lily Yu was suspended from university and faced criminal charges. She tried to argue she was manipulated by Julian, acting foolishly, but the evidence was solid. Combined with the Liu family's relentless legal team, her future was effectively ruined. The last time I saw her was outside the courthouse, masked and hatted, head down, hurrying past, eyes filled with fear and regret. Too late. Julian Shen lost all funding. He was expelled from university. Former mentors and connections distanced themselves, avoiding him like the plague. And the Liu family's retribution wasn't finished. Everything he had betrayed would come back to haunt him. As for me, my mission was complete. Time to pack up, head back home, and figure out how to spend my mountain of gold. Vivian drove me to the airport herself. Window down, the night breeze whispered past, carrying away the day's heat. The early summer night air held a cool fragrance. Distant city noise seemed muffled by the wind, leaving only peace and comfort. Vivian took a deep breath, exhaling years of obsession along with it. Outside, neon lights streaked past, painting shifting patterns on the glass. I glanced sideways at Vivian. She stared straight ahead, an unprecedented calm on her face. How do you feel? I asked, my voice almost lost to the wind and engine noise, but I knew she heard. Regret it. Vivian shook her head. No regrets. Actually feel relieved. Like I finally put down a heavy burden I'd carried for years. I used to feel like life was a long drowning, thrashing around, grabbing only broken reeds, floating leaves. But now, I realize relationships are like knitting, careful and slow to create, but undone with a single pull. She paused. I carried this desire to be loved for so long, sacrificed my entire youth to it. Looking back, it feels more like a habit, an obsession. Growing up, no one ever truly took my side. Everyone just told me what kind of lady to be, what kind of husband to have. No one ever asked who I was. The car rounded a bend. The airport lights were now visible in the distance. Bright indicator lights twinkled in the night sky like stars, guiding travelers. So I didn't even know I could speak up for myself so assertively. Probably your influence. You're always so direct, no beating around the bush. Vivian smiled, then fell silent for a moment, her fingers tightening slightly on the steering wheel. Right, speaking of directness, about that question you didn't answer last time. Which question? Never mind. Ash, have you ever loved anyone? Like, that all-consuming kind of love. I paused, then chuckled lightly. Love is a superstition of time and place. The only thing I've ever truly loved in my life is probably money. Vivian laughed too, eyes fixed on the road ahead. Good thing I have money. So, we'll meet again soon. Okay, see you soon. After saying goodbye at the airport, I walked through the bustling departure hall, pulling my suitcase across the bright tiled floor. Security, boarding, all routine. The cabin temperature was pleasant, lighting soft, seats neatly arranged. I found my seat in economy, 36F, by the window. Even with money, my frugal habits died hard. Stowing my bag overhead, I sat down and fastened my seatbelt, the metal buckle clicking into place. Hey! Goosebumps erupted all over me. I snapped my head around to see the passenger in the next seat. Under the cabin lights, a familiar face appeared. Of course, it was Leo Lin. Casually seated next to me, his hair dyed back to black, casting soft shadows. I silently covered my eyes with my right hand. Unbearable. Was he some kind of ghost, haunting me like this? I lowered my hand, the world coming back into focus. The tray table on the seat back in front, the soft cabin lights, and Leo's teasing smirk. You. I paused, forcing each word out. If you're not here for business, you must be sick. Maybe I'm both, Leo said suddenly. You're special. I recoiled, putting distance between us. Read fewer CEO novels. Leo smiled. I know. I can't quite put my finger on why you're special, but I always felt there was something different about you. The plane began its slow taxi. The distant roar of engines grew louder, the fuselage vibrating gently. Outside, runway lights stretched into lines, twinkling like guiding stars in the darkness. He suddenly reached out, as if to touch my face. I dodged instantly, barely resisting the urge to kiss his face. With my fist. The air froze for a split second. Leo awkwardly retracted his hand, redness spreading rapidly from his ears to his cheeks and neck. Ahem, sorry. He cleared his throat, looking down at his hand as if wondering why it had acted on its own. If I didn't care about the ticket price, I'd have jumped out already. After a long moment, Leo took a deep breath, seemingly gathering courage after long deliberation. Ashgu, if it wasn't Vivian, if someone else offered you enough money, would you agree to be his boyfriend too? Leo Lin. I said, my name isn't actually Ashgu. Leo froze, his expression shifting from anticipation to confusion, brow furrowing slightly. What? I stated calmly. The name on my household register, my real name, means welcome little brother. Leo didn't immediately grasp it. The Ashgu he knew was the smoking, drinking, independent guy who wasn't afraid to clap back at anyone. That persona clashed entirely with the implications of a name like, welcome little brother. Fragments of past memories clicked into place, the pieces of strangeness finally forming a picture. After a long pause, Leo sucked in a sharp breath, pupils contracting. So you're the special Ashgu he'd found intriguing, the guy who'd punched him twice and made him question his own orientation, was actually. He exhaled slowly, deeply, as if releasing all the confusion and shock. It drowned out whatever words and emotions followed, stunned disbelief, dawning comprehension, and a touch of weary resignation. Then, as if remembering something, Leo's expression turned complex. So, that day in the men's room, what hit me on the head? I said, an eggplant. The simple answer seemed to flip a switch. Leo's shoulders started shaking with laughter, building from a chuckle to an outright roar, echoing strangely in the confined cabin space. The plane was now airborne, clouds below like a silver ocean under the moonlight, vast and serene. Cabin pressure stabilized, the plugged feeling in my ears fading. Leo finally said, are you planning to tell Vivian about this? She still thinks you're a guy. I'll tell her when we land. You really are, terrifyingly blunt. But why did you do it? The whole cross-dressing thing. I shrugged. Poor people can't afford secrets. And in my narrow world, pretending to be a man felt like the only way to get a fighting chance. I remembered being very young, hearing my grandma call out, good girl, in the living room. I was in the bathroom and answered loudly, only to have the whole family erupt in laughter. They told me, she was calling your little brother. Did you think she meant you? That was the first time I vaguely, yet clearly, understood the sting of injustice. So right after high school, I left home. Being alone and poor, just surviving was tough. But I kept reading, under the yellow light of cheap rental rooms, on late-night buses, on park benches at dawn. I read Kai Chongda's Vessel. He wrote, when you feel like you can't go on, you want to find a mountain to lean on. But you search and find some mountains are covered in thorns, others full of beasts. So you have to be your own mountain. Lost in thought, I didn't notice Leo still staring at my profile. In a way, I kind of envy Vivian. Why? A wind as free as you still chose to pause for her. But now that the truth is out and our orientations align, you really won't consider. Not considering. Why not? You didn't even reject Vivian when your genders matched. It's not fair. Why would I reject her? Vivian is wonderful. I like her. As for the money, being wealthy is one of her advantages, but not the only one. So you admit you're interested in her money. My family is rich too. I can give you more. I'm interested in everything about her. I looked out the window, including her courage, her struggles, her awakening, and, yes, her wealth. Is there a problem with that? Yes. Are you a lesbian? Keep talking, and I'll stuff that eggplant in your mouth. If it's you, maybe I wouldn't mind. Enough. I'm seriously going to jump. Ha! The plane continued its journey forward, flying through the night sky, through the clouds, until it soared over the mountain. And,